Doing it live. Okay, so let's touch app.rb and sub one back. Yay! We did it, guys. Okay. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is make a route. Ruby. Okay, cool. Come on, buddy. All right, we're done. Cool. Thank you. Okay, so from this, like, honestly, this is like literally the most basic form we can do, and it's also the only thing that, like, the only reason we use folders and hierarchy is because we're humans. Like, the computer gives no shits. Everything that I'm going to show you, like when I start breaking stuff into folders and putting stuff in different files, is only for us as humans to better understand it. Like, Ruby would be perfectly content to have one 10,000 line file that did all the stuff we're going to ask it to do. In fact, require right here essentially makes this a 300, well, probably a 5,000 line application, because just by saying require Sinatra, we are putting all of the code that's in Sinatra, like at line 1 before it's even started. Is everybody with me so far? Okay, cool. So we're going to go from this and then make a gem file, because gem files are awesome. The purpose of making any gem file is to, like, have version control over your system. So, like, as you create applications, they change functionality over time. So what a gem file does is ensure that you are using a version that you know worked with your application. So if, like, someone built something with RSpec2, the gem file will ensure that you always use RSpec2, so that when RSpec3 breaks everything, you don't care because you're still using RSpec2. That's why gem files are awesome. So let's make a gem file. Cool. And in this gem file, we are going to put source. RubyGems.org, I think. Ruby. And gem. Sinatra. Okay, cool. Now we're going to do, like, one of my favorite tricks in the world, which is instead of having 700,000 requires, because we still need this require Sinatra the way we're running it now. But if I do require bundler, and I always forget the syntax, we're going to cheat, and then bundler.require default, it will basically say every gem in your gem file, require that gem. So now with these two lines, we basically said every gem in our gem file is going to be required here. So any gem we have, so like at some point this doesn't make sense, or you can, like, the reason it says default here is that we can do things like default production testing, but for the purposes of this demo, we're just going to use all the gems. So that's what's happening now. Everybody with me?
You missed part of your require standard, though.
Which part? Bundler setup? Yeah, thank you. Good looking out. Okay, so now let's bundle. And you'll notice that, like, right now we don't have a gemfile.lock. And upon creating a, so when we bundle, the gemfile.lock is created, and this is what, like, makes the version-specific state. Like, you'll notice that we didn't specify rack 152, or rack protection 153, or tilt 154, or Sinatra 15, blah, 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 blah. But if we look at the gemfile.lock now, it specifies basically all of those things. And it also says that we depend on Ruby and Sinatra. So, like, this is what ensures that we have the versions that we want. Like, so even though it doesn't say in your gem file that you want RSpec version 2, your gemfile.lock, upon the time of creation, will determine what you're currently using and then tell future users forever that that's what you're using. And we're going to use bundle exec, which says only use the gems in my gem file. Like, you notice how I didn't have any gem file at all, and we still got to run Sinatra when we were up here? Everybody's with me for that? Like, I didn't do gem install Sinatra. How did that work? Like, at some point in history, I had typed gem install Sinatra, or I had bundled Sinatra before. So, like, that's great that it's on my computer, but if you want other people to be able to use your apps, you want to have a gem file, and you want to make sure that you can bundle exec the command you want to run. So let's try bundle exec ruby app.rb. Yay! Let's see if it still works. Oh, man. We are crushing it, guys. Okay. Okay, so from here, let's do some more exciting stuff. So if maybe you guys looked at environment.rb in this Sinatra skeleton? Because it has a lot of magic. Like, yeah, it's not as scary as you think it is, though. Okay, so does anyone have any idea what this line does? Because I didn't either. That's great. Okay, no one does. Good talk. But the way I figured this out, and the way you guys should try and figure out stuff you don't understand, is like break them apart into smaller pieces and use IRB for everything. Okay, so what's load path? Okay, this is the load path. This is the list of locations that whenever you require a file, it will look to require those files. So this starts with like these gems, whatever's in Site Ruby 2.0, 2.0, Java 86. This is just basically a list of folders that it looks for things to require. It starts at the top and works its way down. So that's what this is, okay? Whenever you say require anything, it looks through all of these folders, and if it finds it, great, and if it doesn't, it says I couldn't find that file. So the next part of this is file expand path dot. Does anybody know what dot is in Unix?
Current.
Dot is the current directory. So like if I cd, so here we are, if I cd dot, it's the directory that we're already in, which seems fairly useless for ls, because it is pretty useless for ls. But for file expand path dot here, it gives me the exact path of where I currently am. So when I combine these two things, and I say load path unshift, so what's unshift going to do to this thing?
Push to the front.
Correct. So now, in addition to the load path I already have, we also have the directory that I'm currently in for requires. Does this make sense so far to everybody? Okay, great, cool. And now, let's make our routes folder. Let's just steal some more stuff. Sure. Sorry, we're copying chunks, guys. I'm trying to make this like a lecture that lasts less than 2 hours. Okay. So we're gonna go through this line by line. Let's start right now with just routes. So 4 routes each. We're gonna do this directory. Let's make this simpler for now. Okay. Okay. Let's try this without that for a second. Sorry, I'm gonna jump around a little bit. Okay, so let's make a directory for routes, because that's what you guys probably have in your skeleton, right? There's a routes directory. And if I touch router.rb, oops, routes, router.rb, and then I take this route and remove it, and we put it in router.rb, great. Now let's see if I can run the server. Okay, the server still runs, that's cool. But now it doesn't know hello world. And that's because I commented out the lines that we just put in. So can anybody tell me what this is doing right here? It's totally okay if we don't know. That's great, cool. Remember when we were in IRB? Let's go back to IRB. Grab some more things for everybody. All right, so we did this thing. So now we have that. That's just the same line we did like a second ago. Okay? Are you still with me?
Yeah.
And then if I say this thing, what do you guys think it's going to give me?
All the routes. I have RB.
Cool. So that's the route that we just put there. So remember, like router, this file right here. But also, if I made another one there, say what? So it's an so when I do here, let's go to routes. So if I do ls asterisk dot rb, well, let me I just made this a more vibrant example. Not ruby dot text, right? So the files in this folder are example.rb, not ruby.text, and router.rb. And ls is going to do more or less the same command like for searching for files that we're about to do, and it's going to do asterisk.rb. So if we look at this thing, so we're looking in the directory routes for asterisk.rb, okay? Yep, so when I do ls for asterisk.rb, the only things we get are example and router.rb, and we can prove that to ourselves also in IRB. So now that I've added that thing, that also shows up. Okay, so now can somebody tell me what these 3 lines do? Cool, great. So that's cool. And let's get rid of the stupid ones we put in there because we don't want them. All right, not ruby.text and example.rb. Is everybody with me so far? All right, cool, great. Now we're going to make a views folder. And this part is sadly kind of magic. God, I can't spell anything today, guys, sorry. Okay, so now we have a views folder. And we're going to touch views layout.erb for shits and giggles. Okay, so the views directory, unlike the other ones, since apps.rb is located in the root of our directory, it assumes already that there is a folder called views and that anything in there is going to be a view. Like, we don't have to tell it anything. That's just the way Sinatra works. Sorry, that one's a little bit magical. If you check out the documentation, it would tell you that, but that part is a little bit magic. Everybody still with me? Cool. Okay, so let's go to our layout.rb and totally cheat our way to existence. Oh my god, that's amazing. All right, cool. And so does this look more or less like you guys are used to seeing this stuff? Cool. So what else do we need to do to make a functioning view? Anybody? Okay, let's make a view. Say what?
Maybe I'm on. Oh, yeah, for function. Yeah.
Cool. I like index. What's index going to say?
Hello world.
Okay. So do I stop this thing running? Okay. What the hell's going on? You're killing me, Smiles. Oh, I'm in the wrong folder. That's why nothing's working. Sorry. Or I'm not. Oh, that's the wrong directory. Like, totally the wrong directory. Super wrong directory. Also, why don't we get it? It's going to be great. Okay. Okay, thing still runs. Great. And it gets slash. And it looks like it still says hello brown bats, which is not what I expected. Oh, it's because we didn't change our route. So if we go to our router and change this thing from hello brown bats to... Oh shit, nothing changed.
There goes our view.
Damn it. Correct. Okay, so this is the whole reason we use shotgun. So like running just Ruby app.rb is like totally fine for getting all of the Sinatra stuff up and running. But what it doesn't do, that shotgun does do, is reload every time you change anything. So we've changed this route and we saved it, but like nothing happened. So if we go back to our gem file and add shotgun, then we can get those changes right away, which is super awesome for debugging and super slow for development. That's why they don't just use shotgun by default. Like, it takes a ton of resources to reload all this shit like on the fly every time. But we're doing it pretty often, so it's really cool to have it happen for us in development. Okay, so now let's go and see if we can make that happen. Bundle. Thanks, guy. And shotgun. Oh, there's no config.ru. So let's touch config.ru. So shotgun and Sinatra are both rack compliant applications. So config.ru stands for config.rackup. And that's essentially going to tell a server like Heroku what it needs to do in order to get your service off the ground. Cool? And I'm going to steal this thing, which basically says require our application and then run Sinatra : application, because that's like a method in Sinatra for getting Sinatra up and running. Everybody with that? Okay. Come here, config there. So now I can type shotgun, hopefully. Cool. And in iTerm, I can command click this URL, and it will open all the way over here. Sweet. All right, everybody still with us? Great, good talk. If you guys are not with me at any point, like, feel free to jump in. And if I talk too fast, yell at me, because I talk too fast a lot. Okay, so what do we need next? Let's see what else I have over here, sure. So I can show you guys how to integrate the database if you want to, but I honestly think that, like, if you guys, well, I don't know, actually we're going pretty ahead of time, really. Do you guys want me to show you like routes and JavaScript stuff, or do you guys want me to kind of like delve into how the database gets attached? And honestly, I think that the database attachee stuff is fun, but it's probably not something you're going to use in the super near future. Okay, let's do routes in JavaScript stuff. Okay, so for the routes, we're going to add another route, which is going to be get cats. Do. End. Okay, let's ERB some cats. Thank you. Dude, debugging is so much, like, you guys think this is scary? It's awesome. There's like 30 people debugging your code. It's super easy. Cool. Okay, so let's touch views cats.erb, and I'm just going to steal a bunch of stuff, actually, so this looks like something. Oh, damn it. Damn my love of Haml. Okay, we have to write it ourselves.
You want to change your ERB on 6 to cats.
Thank you. See, that's what I'm talking about. Bam! Okay, so we're going to add something else to layout, though, so we can see that layout like exists. This is the home page. Oh, so it's still high. Okay, cool. So now if we reload our home page, we need to start the server, because everybody knows that. Cool. Okay, cool. You guys want to add some really basic styling, or guys just leave it the way it is?
This is nice. We don't need style.
You guys are such noobs. You guys ever think that? Have you guys ever been to a website that had no styling that you guys liked? You didn't like it because like that's a good example though. I'll give them. Okay, great. We'll leave it alone.
Like a yellow background.
Okay, just so we need to. We're gonna add some styling because I want to share the public folder anyway. So we're gonna make dir public. This is another one that you guys get for free. Because of the location of apps.rb, it assumes that if there is a folder named public, that anything in it will be essentially available at like / whatever's there. So in our public directory, we can touch public application.css and ooh. Okay, cool. So now if we go to public, so first of all, if I type this here, what's not going to happen? Did we require this file in any way? Okay, so where would we do that? Yes. Okay, come here, little guy. Layout. Ah, God, I totally should not have written all this shit in Haml. Okay. You guys gotta help me with my syntax, guys. Let's do it. Is it script? No, is it link? Thank you. Oh, thanks. Tell you, man, tab completion. It's the shit. I mean, it's the darn. Sorry. PG rated. We're up to PG. Okay, so what is going to be the route for this thing that's in my public folder? So URLs have no concept of ... Like ... is a thing that exists for file systems, but not for URLs. So the href, so it thinks that we're already at root, and so public. So there's actually a good way to test this. If we think that we know what the route is, we can try localhost 193 application. I have no idea what this is going to render as. Is the server running? Probably not. Okay, well, it's an empty file, but that's great. So you guys can see, if you can see this little thing right here. So like I've typed in the URL, it took us to something, so that's great. We can probably put something in our application.css that says like, I don't know what that's going to do. Hey, look, there it is. But this is like a good way to test like what the URL should be. And this is the only part that we care about for that part of the route. So the href for that thing is going to be, wherever the hell this thing is, application CSS. And if I change this thing to be .header, 30%. Let's steal some texture out of my other application. Oh yeah, that looks great. steal some shadows. Cool, great. Okay, cool. So that still works great. And this looks terrible. Absolutely terrible. But that's okay. All I really want you guys to know is like where it is. And I mean, if you guys want me to make it look pretty, we can make it look pretty. But I'd rather let you guys get back to coding. Okay, cool, great.
So
Yeah.
my question, so it knows because of the structure that's in the public folder?
So public is like, again, like a lot of the structure that we use in Sinatra is really for human consumption. Like public is just a directory, just like views, that like Sinatra assumes will exist. And it's always looking whether or not you have it there for a folder called public and anything inside of it to be available. Like we could make this like a picture of cats or a zip file or a exe or literally anything because it's totally unsecure. So like if there's something secure, you should not have it in public. Like that's why it's called the public folder. But if you want there to be images or whatever, like anything here that we type, like this, if that's a file there, it'll just show up. Cool? Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, so now let's make cats. Cats. Let's find a picture of some cats. Oh, the picture I had in this one was so good, sorry. We're going to steal some more stuff from my other one. Cool. Okay. Oops, probably need an H there. That looks like probably need a thing. And xk.cd.com class equals okay. Oh, we should probably make a link too from index so we can actually get there. Cats. Okay. So let's check this out. Cats. Sweet. And if we click on this, it will take us to xkcd stuff. Great. Cool. Okay, so now let's do it with Ajax. Let's start by getting jQuery. CDN, maybe. Sure, 2.11. Seems like a good thing. Why not? So we're going to go back to layout and include that thing. Is this riff? Is this a riff? Does anyone remember?
Either href or
Source, src. Okay, let's check that out. Okay, so did that work? Cool. So this is what happens if you actually have jQuery. I suppose we can try. This website does not have jQuery. Even though it is the jQuery website, I'm pretty sure it's not loaded. Okay, yeah, so, well, it's definitely not the same thing. I'm not really sure what that means, but it's not the same thing. So, cool, great. Everybody with me still? Great. All right, so we've done that. So now let's go and make a JavaScript file, because we need to have some JavaScripts. Okay. Yep. And we need to also require this file here, right, guys? And what's the source for this thing? Anybody? Anybody? You guys, I love just like the confidence. I can feel it. It's a little intimidating, actually. Okay, and another thing that I really like to do, just to like prove to yourself that like you've actually loaded your JavaScript, is just like alert. We aren't stupid. Maybe. That's probably not gonna work. That's fine. Let's just leave it alone. Okay. kind of stupid. Great. Hey, we aren't stupid. Sweet. So like, it's nice at every step to try and like whenever you can prove to yourself that you're not assuming something. Like most of the bugs that like you guys encounter are just due to like assumed functionality. Like if you assume that any piece is working and it's not working, like that's a huge problem that you have that assumption. So try wherever you can to prove to yourself that like it is actually working. Okay, so what do we need at the beginning of our JavaScripts? Does anybody have any favorite one-liners? Monster, I know you got one. Oh, it's my favorite too, man. There's a fancy way to do it in jQuery that I always forget and just look up, so let's check it out. It's not really fancy, it just looks pretty. Yeah, this guy. Come here, buddy. Okay, cool. Okay, so on our index, we need to give this thing a name. Named link. Cool. And application.js. Okay, so named link. Dot on. Click. Probably an event to. Is this right, guys? I don't remember. Thanks. Feels nice and cozy. Okay. Yay! Okay, but I mean, we'd probably still like to add some Ajax, but this is pretty good so far. Yeah. Okay, so what are we going to do to get this Ajax going? Oh, I like that. It's good because I totally forgot it. Is it this? Totally going to steal my syntax, guys. Sorry. Totally forgotten. Function. Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's an object literal. All right, cool. Okay, so what's our URL going to be? We're going to get cats. Okay. I don't think we're sending any data. Are we doing anything else? So Git is actually by default already there. Okay. Yeah, we're basically done. Not done. Is this right? Sorry guys, it's been a while. So data is also a fun, free magic thing. So whenever you have it done on any Ajax call, there will be a data.
Do you need a data in the function? You get data in the process?
Yes, that is true. Thank you. Oh, hey, cool. So look, we got in our console here something, so that's cool. So now let's figure out a way to live reload this entire page, because we want this to be a single page app. So in our layout, I'm going to create a div that surrounds my yield block. There's many other ways to do this, but this is my favorite, so feel free to choose or not choose my way. All. Don't name this bad. This is for humor, not for a function here, guys. Slash. Yeah, I'll get that. Thank you. Okay, is that cool? Great. Okay, so if I do, let's reload this thing, and we can test. Okay, come on. Ugh. Sorry, Yosemite Safari is not super enjoying its dev tools. Okay. Dot alt. Can you guys read that? I don't know if I can make it much bigger. Yeah, it doesn't get bigger. Sorry.
Should be all the things.
Thank you. Okay, so we can see that this is the HTML of all the things, right? So now if I wanted to replace all the HTML with like, so there, cool. So that's what that does, right? So we can write a done function that does essentially that with our data, right? Cool. So let's do that. Is everybody with me, by the way? Could you guys read that incredibly tiny font? Or at least hopefully follow with the idea of the incredibly tiny font? Okay, so oh, cool. Oh, so this is really cool, but we still have this stupid, this is the homepage thing, right? So there's a really cool feature in Sinatra already to handle this functionality. So if we go back to our routes, we can say if, oh sorry, so we're gonna go with unless request.xhr. So what is XHR? XHR is a terrible naming convention for Ajax.
Object.
Yes, it is the XML HTTP request that does not have any XML in it. Let's just pretend that I mean, it's kind of, I guess it's kind of XML since all HTML is XML, but that's beside the point. It's a weird naming convention. So we're saying if this is an Ajax request, so unless it's an Ajax request, give me ERB cats. And else, so that is to say, if it is an Ajax request, give me ERB cats, gamma layout false. Plus. Okay, so does everybody understand what this is trying to do? So when we do this as Ajax, it's going to ignore layout.erb, because we already have layout.erb once. And we are just going to replace everything inside of this block, so we don't want anything outside of that block. And essentially, that's what the layout is. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's see if it works. Oh, sweet. Okay, so now we want to change this thing to do something else. So let's bind an event to it. Does anybody remember what the hell we called that thing? Yeah, neither do I. Brown bat link. Okay, so now if I reload this thing and I click on this thing, oh, nothing happened. That sucks. But let's say that I did this from /cats and I loaded this directly. Oh, that does work. That's weird. Does anybody know why this is happening? Okay, that's cool. That's part of the plan, really. So even though Ajax feels like it's running all the time, it actually executes itself line by line by line, but most of its calls go to an API that is the browser. So like when you say event prevent default, like JavaScript is done. It does not care about anything. Like it's told the browser to do it and it's moving on with its life. And then the browser deals with like however that happens. So it's like there's different browsers in the world. However they choose to implement this is their choice. So like this is all done within a matter of like a millisecond. And then it's done. And brown bat link, if I go to root here and we inspect the elements, like there is no brown bat link here, right? You guys believe me, or do I have to go through this? Like, so see, like it's just not here. So it's already done. It has run the line that says brown bat link on, and it found nothing. Like, so think of these things as like your workers, and you're like, hey man, go to the shed and wait for somebody to click on something. And the dude gets there and is like, there's no fucking shed. There's no darn shed. So like he doesn't do anything, runs away. So what we need to do is like get something for him to hang out for. So we're gonna duplicate this so that we can just remember that it exists. Oops, apparently not with that. Just keep our shortcut though. Okay, so we have this, but what does exist at this point? If we look at say like our layout, all the things exist. Yeah, sure. Let's jump on that one. So you can do optional arguments here. Whoops, I guess I don't need the quotes for that since I already did all that shit. I don't know if I need jQuery for this. Maybe not.
I don't think you do.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so this says Essentially, we're like in the go out to the shed thing. We're basically saying go out to the yard, and if a shed ever shows up, keep an eye on it. Like, does that make sense? So let's see if that works. And possibly my syntax is right. Who knows? We're gonna find out in a second here. Okay. Nope, does not work. All right, let's see what I've messed up.
I think you are missing the dot before the class.
We don't need these things, that's for sure.
All the things
Oh, thank you.
you need a
Good call, guys. This is why it's so much easier with 30 people watching. Sweet!
Hey, can you explain that part one more time?
Okay.
You
So
still need that code from 11 14.
so no, actually we can totally get rid of this now. So this will also work even if I go to the page. So first let me address that one. Okay, now I got you first.
Alright.
So what we need to do is bind to something that does exist, because the JavaScript is going to execute, and if it doesn't find anything to bind to, it's just going to essentially throw itself out. This is the whole reason also for document ready. Like the reason we need document ready is that if it tries to bind named link, like without this, like if I comment out this line and this line, like named link is not ever going to prevent default, because the JavaScript is going to execute faster than the page can load the HTML. So like if the HTML has not yet loaded, there's no thing there for it to bind to, which is the whole point of a document ready function. So like that's why we have document ready. That's the whole purpose of event delegation.
Everybody loads first, I guess.
Yeah, so like at the time, since we know that the document has loaded, because we have document ready, so document ready has happened, and therefore all the things definitely exist because the document is ready. And even though brown bat link does not exist now, if it ever does exist as a subpart of all the things, it will find that because it's not bound to brown bat link, it's bound to all the things, and it's just looking around in the yard for a shed to do something with. Does that make sense? Like, so if we say, go hang out in the shed and the shed's not there, it just gives up. But if you say go hang out in the yard and wait for a shed, it'll wait for a shed and then do something when something happens in the shed. Are you with me at all? Is this analogy terrible?
No, that's fine. It's similar to, I think you were good. It's similar to like debt delegation, like there's other things.
This is it.
This is event delegation. Yeah. So it is very similar, true. But it also works, but so it's just really nice as a catch-all because like you can do this in .done functions, but like it saves you from having to remember to do it in all of your .done functions. And it also works if I go directly to cats. So like now this is like we're at /cats. I did not Ajax here. This still works. But even if we do Ajax here, so if I go to the home page and click on this guy, then it still works. So like it just essentially takes like your brain out of like having to remember dealing with this stuff all the time, which is nice. Okay, and that's event delegation. That's pretty much it, unless you guys want like another 20 minutes of how to attach the database, which I honestly don't think you guys are going to find super interesting right now. It's important, but we'll figure it out.
Can you keep attaching multiple things to all the things?
Yeah, you can bind literally everything in the world to all the things. At some point, there's probably so anything that manipulates that traverses the DOM a lot is fairly expensive as a task. So it's probably not. I mean, like, don't just like go out of your way to bind everything in the world to like the top level. Like, you want to bind it to whatever the closest thing is because it requires less DOM traversing. Like, so that means like every time you have to go from like an h1 tag to its inner div tag to its inner whatever tag, like all of that is fairly computationally expensive. So you want to try and not just like that's why we don't bind to body for like literally everything, because that would be a huge waste of computing resources. What's up?
So you're saying that as many times as possible, or whenever possible, you want to like attach to the descendants rather than the parents, because it's just less expensive.
Yeah, if you can bind to the thing exactly, like that's great. If you can't, bind to the closest thing you can to it.
All right.
But if there's 100 things that are brown bat links inside this container, you can attach one event to the container.
Yeah.
And the link will work for all of the nested links, right? You don't want to attach 100 events.
That makes sense.
That's the trade-off.
Yeah. All right. You guys have any questions?
If you attach a div, like say brown bat link with a div, could you attach something to that div, like the one that you just added?
So I'm pretty sure you can do this. Well, I don't know. Let's find out. Sure. I'm pretty sure you can do this an infinite number of times, but I'm honestly not sure at all. So let's go to cats. Where do we get div? What did I just call that thing? Other div. Other dash div. Thank you. So it looks like either I have messed something up or we cannot do infinite number of links. I did not do that right. Okay, cool. Let's try that. It looks like either I'm having spelling errors or it's just not happening.
Try with a comma,
Did I miss a comma?
like
Yep.
one string. So. I'm not
Oh,
sure
you mean
this
like
works.
in the string?
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
not sure
that's-
this works, but like one of the things that might work. Comma.
Can I do commas in here? I thought we just did it like
try
this.
Try comma.
Like there?
Yeah.
So it says unexpected token majiggy there.
One of the parentheses.
Oh, thank you. Nope. No, that was...
Yeah, take out that last bit, the one on the right. After brown back leaf. That one.
There we go. Cats? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Hey, sweet. Okay, we did it, guys. Alright, so that's apparently our syntax for nesting that stuff.
That's a bit obscure, if you ask me.
That's not really what I'm.
Oh, I'm sorry, I guess I misunderstood that.
Like, say you just had other div and not grab that link in there.
Mhm.
Then could you, like on line 17, do another event handler for other div dot on, and then attach things to other div, like bind things to other div?
You can...
Or is there any?
Well, so if other div doesn't exist at the time that I write like this thing, right? Like so, if other div is not here at the time this line executes, nothing will happen. And if it is there, you can bind the entire. You bind literally like 600 bajillion events, whatever the upper bound of integer is, events to that thing.
So basically, you couldn't do it because
It needs to exist.
Yeah.
If it doesn't exist, too bad.
I got you.
You
There's
can
no
only
shit.
bind to the one that you've exposed. The way this works is that when the event fires, it detects the event and looks at the object, the event target, which is passed as part of the event, and compares its class to the selector. Right?
Yeah, it's really not necessary. I was just kind of curious.
Okay, cool. Is this all you guys need for now?
This is good.
Cool. I'll put this up on the GitHubs. It's gonna still look just as shitty as it looks now, but I will also give you guys like a more robust Sinatra skeleton that I usually build that has the database attached. But I think for where you guys are, you're much more interested in the JavaScript, not the database stuff. So hopefully that was cool for you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Also commit way more than I did. Like 20 times more.
Where on GitHub can we find it?
I'm just gonna. I'll send you guys an email, but I'll probably put it up on your repo. I'll try and do it ASAP.
Can I just? I know we kind of skipped over the CSS lecture to do this for you. I just want to provide you with a couple of links to some CSS for those people who are interested in CSS. So I'll just give you some documentation that you can head out towards. Right? Okay.
Oh, God. Can you guys spell your cohort name for the GitHub?
It's, yes, yeah, that's correct.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Is the skeleton that's created as general, is that just a standard skeleton? No.
Whatever you want to do. This is the right way to do it. Like go through the skeleton, understand all the bits and pieces, and then add that shit if you need it
Okay.
to your app.
Yeah, that way, like, especially because I didn't need a database for that. So, like, I mean, like, I could have added a database for no reason, but if you don't need one, don't take the skeleton that has a database attached.
How are you getting it to display? Do you want to kind of wire?
Yeah, it's AirPlay. There's AirPlay up there.
What?
Yeah.
What? What is? It's not even plugged in. It's working. Which one is it? Lodge?
This one is the Meta.
What it is that
I should probably just stop her.
that